Hi, third grade Falcons. It's me, Miss Land, and I'm here today to give you a little video on our science this week. You've already done a little bit of this week's assignment, but I wanted to give you a little bit more in-depth look at what you're noticing or what you're reading about, as well as give you some enrichment activities, some extension activities if you're already done and you're looking for something more to do. So this week's topic is animal adaptations. It's something that we previously covered a little bit in our benchmark, but we didn't get to do much research with it. So we wanted to go back and give you an opportunity to look at it in an informational way. Get my picture out of here. All right. So our third grade science standard, we have different sections. One of our sections is life science. And in third grade, we're supposed to learn how living things depend on their environment. And as a student, you're expected to be able to explain how certain traits allow organisms to survive in specific habitats, but not in others. So you'll remember back when we did benchmark, we learned about different animals and what traits they had, what characteristics or features they had. A polar bear had very specific fur, had very specific traits to help it live in very cold climates. Ducks and birds have very specific features for their climates, for their habitat. To live in the water, to live in the air. So we're going to be looking at that again this week and really focusing on those key details. I found a really cool field trip video that I wanted to share with you where an organization shares their animals and explains the adaptations. And I thought it was a great opportunity to get a close-up look at the animals that we're actually talking about. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll have some more information after.
Every form of life on Earth is a compilation of adaptations that have evolved over time. You can find adaptations pretty much anywhere you can find life on Earth, but it's easier to learn about them when they're up close. So for this month's adaptations field trip, we are going to get up close and personal with some of these amazing adaptations of life on Earth right here at Animal Wonders, Montana. On this field trip, we have a special guide that's going to lead us through. I am here with Jessie right now.
Hi guys, I'm Jessie. I'm the director of Animal Wonders. I like to do a lot of teaching with animals, and adaptations is my favorite topic. And what I tell the kids, a very simple description of it, is something an animal has or does that helps them survive.
Having it or doing it, it's neat to think about things that are physical and things that are behavioral.
Yes, yeah, the hidden ones are some of my favorites to share.
A lot of the adaptations we see with life on Earth are all about defensive tactics.
Right, and those are sometimes like the most obvious ones as well.
We're going to actually see several individuals today, right? We're going to get few different taxonomic groups, so that's how we categorize different life on Earth.
You guys are going to see everything from mammals to birds to reptiles and amphibians and invertebrates.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
We are going to check out the adaptations for the group that is reptiles.
Meet Blueberry, the blue-tongued skink. A skink is a kind of a lizard. Generally, they have a shorter, thicker neck, long body, and little legs. So she has this blue tongue. It is actually a warning color, so she's mimicking animals that actually put a lot of effort into creating a poison or a toxin. So when an animal comes close, they're like, nope, warning colors, you don't want to eat me. But she has no poison or venom. She's totally tricking them. We would know very clearly if she was trying to defend herself. So she would open her mouth very wide and she would stick her tongue out, inflate it a bit, and then she would wiggle it around in the air like blah, 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 like that, being like, look at me, don't eat me.
In addition to using the tongue and making this larger display, they will also exhibit some body characteristics too, right? Flattening out or kind of presenting a different, just like that. And you can imagine that because there is so much, there's all this tissue.
Girth.
Yeah, all that girth. And so imagine if you were using that, but then putting it in different angles to be bigger.
So if those don't work, she will attempt to run away and hide into a bush, kind of like what she's doing right now. And then she's got this tail that's displayed. That's kind of like her hidden defense. So if something tries to grab her, prevent her from going into a bush, they'll grab her tail and pull, and the tail will come off. And then it has vasoconstriction very quickly. It just stops bleeding, scabs up, heals over, and then regrows itself.
Which is absurd and awesome and amazing. The next individual we are going to look at is an amphibian. Who do we have?
We have Slick the tiger salamander. He has some pretty obvious defense mechanisms, and that goes with his color here. If you take a look at his color, you'll see that while he can camouflage a bit if he's burrowed down into the dirt, if he is exposed, he has bright colors on him. Bright colors usually are a warning that they're poisonous or venomous. These guys have a poison gland underneath their tail. He would turn his tail sideways, and a milky substance would come out of that poison gland, and that would be the poison. And then he'd kind of wiggle around and try and get it on his tail and his body, as much of him as he could, so that not only does he taste terrible, but he will cause quite a bellyache if he's eaten. And now we're going to be talking about some birds. This is Maui and this is Ginger, and they're both green-cheeked conures, also known as green-cheeked parakeets.
So birds, one of the first thing that kind of comes to mind in terms of adaptations or things that just stand out are coloration, right?
Yes, they have the same kind of tone, but one is much darker than the other. And this is Ginger over here. She's the dark one. This is the natural color they would be in the wild. And Maui here, she is what you call a pineapple coloration, and that is human-made. She would not do very well in the wild.
It's interesting to have the color bred, right, for Maui, because when you think about defense, some of the most amazing defenses that we see in the animal kingdom or in life in general is camouflage.
Right.
So the reason why you wouldn't see Maui's coloration just out in the wild is because that camouflage defense has to match the surroundings.
Exactly. So if she was born in the wild, she would basically be a neon sign for predators saying, "Eat me."
Hello.
So she would not only blend in with the foliage around her, but also the rest in her flock.
Aside from just not being seen, if you are seen, there's then the step 2, right? So if you are seen by a predator, then what?
Flight is huge. Birds have evolved and put so much energy into making this defense work for them. Right. I mean, their entire physiology is geared for them to be able to fly.
And it's kind of that idea that the defense can also be offense if you are a bird that is hunting and actively utilizing flight to come from something from above.
Exactly, yeah. Do you want to show off that adaptation of flight?
Yeah, I would actually love to. What do you think, Ginger?
Let's go ahead and do that, yeah.
All right, you are so sweet. Hi. Hello. Are you ready?
There she goes!
And now a word, not from our sponsors, but from... During our Biodiversity Month, we talked about invertebrates, which make up the majority of all life on Earth. So we would be remiss if we did not check out some adaptations of an invertebrate.
This is Professor Claw, and she's an emperor scorpion. Everything about her is an adaptation for her to survive, but the biggest one that she needs is defense. And these guys are the second largest scorpion in the world, so they are huge, but because they don't have really intense venom, they need other ways to defend themselves, and so they have adapted the huge claws.
Their sensory is part of the way that they both defend and hunt. It's both defense and offense.
And it's interesting because like their defenses are also their offenses. Like they're all rolled into one. She's not trying to pinch me. She is using her claws to feel this rough terrain. She's like, I'm not sure why it keeps going up and down. And so these guys have kind of terrible eyesight, and their eyes are on top of their carapace there. So in order to figure out what's going on, they put their claws out in front of them. That's going to help make sure that she stays safe wherever she's going. And if she does run into a predator or a piece of food, she can sense it and she can grab it. The hairs on her claws, those aren't real hairs, folks. They are a special part of her exoskeleton. So you could actually more accurately call them a kind of a bristle. This is the home of Kismet, the African crested porcupine. In the wild, I would absolutely be afraid of an animal that looked like this because, I mean, she is giving you all the warnings. She's got the stripes and the pokes, and she's even has an auditory warning as well, saying, if you come closer, I'm going to use these on you. So these guys are up against all the large mammals in Africa, lions and hyenas and leopards. They can actually take these amazing quills and run them through a lion. Right now, it looks like she's wearing a skirt, but when she is on defensive mode, all of these quills, she flexes muscles on her back and her quills come up. And so it looks like her crest goes up, but also she just becomes gigantic. She becomes 3 times her size. Right. And she's also shaking her quills at you, so it's going and it's very intimidating. You can kind of see where her tail would be. It is her tail. And they are white, just clear quills under there, and they have this special adaptation where they're hollow. Right there, and so when she shakes her tail, those hollow ones, they hit together and make that noise.
For something to be hollow right next to something that's used as a complete spear,
right?
It's so different.
These are the guard hairs, so these are what you see on the top here.
Much more flexible.
Yep, they don't even have they kind of have a pointy tip, but they're not going to go into anything. Right. This is the danger poke right there.
So you can see the flexibility. There just isn't any.
It's so rigid, and it's thick. These porcupines are different than New World porcupines from South America because they don't have a barbed tip. So they have to have a lot of force behind their poke so that it embeds and it damages that animal enough to give them a lasting impression so they don't mess with these guys again.
So as you've seen, all life on Earth is just full of adaptations that have happened either over millions of years or even in the recent past. And they all have to do with surviving and thriving. It's so incredible to get to see them up close. And I would not have been able to do that without having you here and being hosted here at Animal Wonders. So thank you for letting us see these up close and talk about them.
I'm so glad. I mean, I love talking about the animals. I love sharing them. And I just feel privileged to be able to take care of them so that I can share them with others.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching this Nature League field trip. And we will see you next week for a special Denatured all about adaptation. We'll see you then.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video about adaptations. When we're looking at the traits of our animals that we're learning about, your assignments this week are focused on the tundra habitat and the desert habitat and the animals that live there and the adaptations that they have. I want you to think about picking one of those animals that you're reading about and think about what that animal looks like. That's called the appearance. Think about what special features they have. What traits do they have that help them survive? We just saw a bunch of special features that different types of animals had. Their habitat, and in this week's assignment, those habitats are actually provided for you, and they're focusing on a specific habitat each set of days. The environment is part of that habitat. What surroundings are there in that animal's habitat? What are the surroundings like? What are the other animals that are within that environment? Also, focusing on their diet, what the animals eat, prey versus predator. What does that animal eat, and how does that animal protect itself from something that might be trying to eat it if it is a prey? So those are all things that I want you to focus on and think about as you're learning about these animals this week. And I want to encourage you to maybe pick one animal and pay a little extra close attention to that, or see if there's a way that you can do a little further research on that animal of your choice. So I want you to continue learning about those adaptations in your enrichment assignments. And if you are interested, if you're already done with those assignments and you want to do further enrichment, this is completely optional, not mandatory at all. This is just if you have extra time, I want you to consider creating one of the following activities. Maybe creating a poster or a Zoom presentation. Where you're just talking, you'll meet with me and talk with me about the animals and what you've learned, or a Google slideshow, or perhaps maybe putting together a shoebox diorama, putting together your research on that animal and presenting it to your teacher in a certain way. So here on this slide, we do have examples. Here's an example of a poster. So they kind of did a drawing of the animal and its environment, and then features of that that animal has is on there. Now I know we're doing this at home, so you may not have these as much resources as these pictures have, and that's okay. I do not want you to go out and buy things. I do not want you to have to just look around the house and see what you have at home that you can use. If you don't have any crafty type items, you can do a slideshow instead, or like I said, a Zoom presentation instead. I have included, as the slide says, I have included a large 11 by 17 paper. If you picked up your booklet or your packet, there's a large 11 by 17 paper in there that you can use for any of those, whether that's for the poster or maybe you want to use that paper to cut up and decorate a box. You can use that paper for any of these extension projects if you choose. You do not have to do any of these extension projects. These are just items that are available. Maybe you want to just do the research and learn about it, but you don't really want to present anything. That is totally fine. National Geographic's Kids has great resources for animals and their habitats and adaptations. There's both videos and articles. I have posted links on our Fancher Creek third grade website in the instructional videos week 5 tab. To scroll all the way down to the bottom in science, I've put links to 2 of the different locations on National Geographic's kids website. I want to thank you for watching my video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your teachers. We would love to help you continue learning and enriching your at-home learning. Thank you so much. Have a great day.